So we are going to create a check to see if the redirect variable, which is here, is set. Okay, so if is set $_get redirect and not empty $_get redirect, and then the block's going to run if this variable has been set and it's not empty. Okay, so I'm just going to echo out $_get. In fact, we'll redefine this as redirect equals $_get redirect. So we're assigning the value that we've appended on here, which is the code, and we have assigned that to a variable called redirect, and then we're going to just echo out, in fact we'll just do it up here to make life a lot easier, echo redirect. So now we can see that, let's go ahead and upload our files. When we press enter now, you can see that the value that we've specified here is returning back to the user. So obviously at this point, if you're confused with what this is, you need to be looking at get variables in PHP to understand how we're passing this data to our script. So now we can take this and perform a query on it to check if it's in the database, and then also check and then also redirect. Okay, so obviously we've already done this because we've already created our redirect function, which takes a code, which is this here, specified up here, and it checks if the code exists, important, and then it grabs the URL and redirects the user. Okay, so in index.php we're going to get rid of the echo there, and we're going to say redirect. Okay, and this is the code. Okay, in fact, let's change this variable name completely to code, because then it would make a lot more sense. Code, and code. Okay, and then we're going to die, and I'll explain about that in just a moment. So we've redirected to the user to the code, and using the redirect function which we've defined here. We're escaping this data here, so if the user was to try and inject any data in this variable here, we are escaping this. What we're then doing is we are, like I said, redirecting the user, and we're using die because some browsers can be modified to ignore header functions which we have defined here or created here. So we want to kill the page after we redirect. It's not really important. The main use of this is if you were using a login and register system and any data below it was sensitive. But I like to put it in after I ever do a header output anyway. Okay, so we've redirected the user. Now let's check if this actually works. So we're taking the code, we're passing it to redirect, and then we're redirecting the user to the URL where it corresponds to the code in the database over here. So as long as the code is equal to 5UA capital M BM, then we can redirect the user to to phpacademy.org, which is the URL. So let's go ahead and press enter. Oh, maybe I haven't uploaded yet. There's trouble with using it on a global public server. So now let's press enter. Oh, and nothing's happened. Yeah, that's because we redefined the variable. Well, we called the variable code instead of redirect. So let's go and type in code. Sorry. Let's press enter. Call to undefined function redirect. That's because we haven't included func.inc.php up here. Okay, so include func.inc.php to make use of this redirect function here. Okay, very important. Okay, so let's upload that change, and let's go ahead and try this once more. Press enter. Okay. So we have a couple of errors here that we need to sort out. MySQL result supplied argument is not a valid MySQL result resource. So this means that my query has actually failed. So let's go ahead over to our text editor and see why this might be. You may have spotted it before I did, but let's check anyway. So URL, okay, so I've called this URL query, and I've actually typed in URL result here. So you may have noticed that before I did, so I'll just correct that. And header location URL, it's saying that there's output before this, so let's just double check that everything over here. Oh, okay, that might be because we're actually returning this error, and therefore that's automatically generated this error. So let's upload the changes, and we'll check if this actually works. So let's press enter. Okay, yes, so we're redirected to phpacademy.org. So now that we know that that's working, we know that we are successfully checking the code associated with the URL. Now, the only other thing that we need to do, or I think it's the last thing that we need to do, is actually create our htaccess file to ensure that instead of defining our redirect, or our code as we renamed it, as like this, we want to be able to redirect the user to index.php and use our question mark code equals the code, but we want to let the user do it like that. Now at the moment it says that this can't be found, so what we want to do is we want to create the htaccess file to pick up on anything that's / and is not, well, is basically looks like a code, and we want to redirect them to index.php and then use the code variable with the code that they have specified. Okay, so this is going to be pretty straightforward. Let's go over to our text editor. We've got our htaccess file open here, and we need to do a few things. So we need to say rewrite engine on. Okay, so that's just rewriting our URL, and that's telling us, let's put that as a small o, that's just telling that we want to rewrite. And then we're going to create a rewrite rule. So rewrite rule, this is gonna use an expression to check the code, and what we want to do is we want to say we want to use a correct symbol, I think it's called, I'm not too entirely sure, to start it. In brackets is what we want to look for, and then we end that with a $sign. Okay, and then after this we want to redirect to index.php code equals $1. Now this might confuse you, but I'll explain about this $1 in just a moment. Okay, so the ruling, we need to say plus at the end of that, and this plus I think means any length. I'm not entirely sure, but you'll probably have to go and check on that. I'm not great with htaccess or regular expressions in general, but we need it to be A to Z, which is small or lowercase, A to Z in capitals, because remember we're using capital letters, and 0 to 9. So we're just checking that this is the basic format for a code. We're allowing lowercase, uppercase, and numbers. Okay, and this $1 is taking anything from the /, which is what we are checking for here, and it's placing it equal to $1. So if we were now to type in, let's go back to our browser, / and a code, which is that, it will take this and it will assign it there, and it will redirect us to index.php code equals and the code that we've specified. So let's save that and press yes, and let's go back here, and now what we can do is check if this is going to work. So remember, I'm not using index.php code equals that anymore, because our htaccess is going to handle this and automatically place it in here for us and redirect to this page. So let's just check that out, press enter, and you can see that that's redirected us to phpacademy.org. So I think we're done with this now. Let's go ahead and just test it out so we get a better idea of how the general thing works. http://, well, first of all, when we enter, we automatically go to here. Okay, sorry, so over to min.bz, we type in a URL here, google.com// google.co.uk. We press enter. Successfully shortened your URL. We've got the code here, CIX capital R LK. Let's go over to our database and check that that's been put in, and you can see that a new record has been added with this code. We can then, because it's already been highlighted for us, remember, Control and C, or we can say copy. We can then open up a new tab and we can paste that in, press enter, and it redirects us to the page that we entered prior to receiving this shortened link. So that's essentially our URL shortener. As you can see, I've combined it with jQuery to make the user's experience a lot nicer, and for it to act like some of the more popular URL shorteners out there.